The first thing that I think of is, which is really bad because I don't want to be like negative or anything, but I just think, how is this £160? So let's talk about Nobull's new Canvas Lifter. So I bought the Nobull Canvas Lifter because I'm a big fan of Nobull. I think all of their apparel and their sportswear is really, really good quality. I know people who have had Nobull shoes that are really happy with those as well. And as I've been doing more CrossFit weightlifting stuff, I wanted a shoe that would be able to meet both requirements, so I wouldn't have to change my shoes all the time, because usually I wear ROM 2s and like a Metcon or a Rad, whereas I thought it would be great if I could get a shoe that I could just wear throughout the whole session and not have to change at all. And whilst looking online, I saw that Nobull had advertised it as a shoe that you could do WODs in. There are people doing running and sprinting and box jumps and all sorts in these shoes, so I thought that this would be the perfect shoe for me to try. So just a quick few things that you should know about the Nobull Canvas Lifter before we get into the actual review of me wearing the shoes. So they are just under 500 grams, so they're quite light compared to like a normal lifter. They're heavier than like a normal Metcon shoe. So they obviously have more of an elevated heel, just like a Romalio or any kind of lifting shoe. They have a wider front toe, which is very much similar to all of their other Nobull shoes for like roomier toes. They say that it's like a spacious forefoot, and it's new. So if you prefer to have like a more traditional size lifter, that you should try their actual lifter that they have that's not like an in-between, which by the way is over 200 euros, but we won't go into that. They're supposed to be super flexible and versatile and have great traction, so you can sprint and climb and do all sorts of CrossFit things. It has a functional, secure strap as well, which is supposed to help with foot stability. They also said they have a molded anatomical insole, which is great for your feet. So those are basically like the quick FAQs that you can have about the shoe, just so that you know like a broad overview of the shoe. Now I'll talk about my overall experience with the Nobull Canvas Lifter. So when I first got the shoe, I did like a normal unboxing, and when I first unboxed the shoe, I was a little bit disappointed. Like, I felt like when I looked at the shoe, it wasn't as nice as I thought it was going to be, and upon closer inspection, it looked a little bit cheapo. Like, it looked like the sole had just been stuck onto another Nobull shoe. The actual like sole around the shoe looked like it had just been like a sticker stuck on to make it look like the camo effect, and it just didn't feel like very like expensive or 160 euros worth. And when I took out the insole of the shoe, there was like this huge bit of glue that was just like spare around the shoe that I was a little bit disappointed with. So first impressions weren't great, but we just tried to move past it, and I wore it for my whole session to kind of just make sure that I had the best idea of what the experience would be like wearing the shoe. So when I first put the shoe on to start lifting, so I did like a lifting session before where I did snatches, cleans and jerks, and honestly like the initial thought was, actually that's really roomy, like my toes feel like really comfortable. I have quite wide feet, so it was really nice that I didn't feel like it was tight. One thing I would say is that I did get half a size up, and I'm so glad that I did, because it was the perfect fit. If I'd had my normal size, it definitely would have edged on being too small. One of the things I didn't like about it when I first put it on is that the insoles for me were really weird. They were supportive in strange places. I found the outside of my foot got uncomfortable very, very quickly, because there was like a weird like bump on the side of the shoe, like on the outside of the shoe, which made my foot feel really, really uncomfortable. When I tried to use the secure strap, I didn't feel like it was making my feet any more secure. It was just kind of like an aesthetic thing. So overall, like my first impressions of actual comfort, like it was fine. It was just nothing amazing to shout about. So after having done all my lifting, it was actually fine to lift in. Like, it wasn't anything special, but it wasn't anything bad. I felt like I could have used a little bit more support, but I do understand that that kind of has to be taken away when you want to make a shoe that's like mid-ground. I did enjoy lifting in them. It was absolutely fine. Nothing to complain about. It just was what it was. It was okay. It was fine. So when I started to do the WOD, I did a WOD which was heavy clean and jerks with burpee pull-ups on rings and just like burpees. That was actually fine. The shoe was a little bit stiff, which it would be because it's supposed to be a lifter, but I didn't feel particularly uncomfortable doing burpees, and doing any kind of accessory work was also fine in them. They were just relatively comfortable. It was absolutely no problem. I think the undertone of this video is that these canvas lifters are just fine. Like there's nothing really to shout about, there's nothing really that I'm like super excited about or not super excited about. They were just fine. Like it was just an okay shoe to train in and I was absolutely fine in them. I think that what I would say is if you're someone who has been training in flats or in Metcons or rads and you're looking for something that's a little bit more secure but you don't want to go full like lifter, this is a great shoe for you. It's a great alternative, a great mid-ground to kind of see what is comfortable for you and like to train in and to lift in. I think it's a great alternative. If you're willing to pay 160 euros, that's absolutely fine. If you're not, they do have other alternatives like the Nike Savello, which is a lot cheaper and it does exactly the same thing. So I have done heavy Metcons or heavy lifts in flat shoes and heavy lifts in ROMs obviously, and both are fine. I think that if you can bypass not having that extra stability from like a lifting shoe, then there isn't really any point to buy these canvas lifters. They're very okay shoes, they're Nobull, so obviously Nobull is like a big brand and people want Nobull because it's a cool brand, but I feel like these shoes are just very fine and there's nothing like particularly impressive about them. Nothing particularly noteworthy. Nothing 160 euros worth basically. Now I say this bit for last because I felt like when I was training, I was being like pretty savage about the shoes. So I made notes about them. I'm gonna start with the worst and then hopefully it gets better. My feet are honestly in agony. They feel like they themselves have had a workout and my feet feels like it's gonna cramp in the ball of my foot. I did feel really uncomfortable. The sole just really wasn't working for me and I felt like my foot wasn't supported, so I was constantly having to like grab the floor and like be really like active with my feet movement. Which isn't a bad thing. It's okay, but it's not what I was trying to focus on. They look and feel cheapo, they're not comfortable. I do agree that they still look and feel cheapo. I think that for a Nobull shoe, they could have just tidied it up around the edges a bit better, but that, you know, that's just me being nitpicky. The strap doesn't really hug my foot, and there's a weird little bump on the outside of the shoe, like the insole bit. I stand by that. What I like about them is that they look cool, not ugly. Literally wrote, look cool, not ugly. And if you've only worn Metcons or training shoes, these are a great way to start. Bit of an in-between. Those are the notes I made. So I hope this video does kind of provide you some kind of insight about the shoes. If you did enjoy it, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up as well as subscribe to my channel because it really supports my channel. And I'll catch you guys in the next video.